Hey there, welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome for the first time. Now then, we're going to be doing some barbecuing today. We are starting out in the kitchen. It is still raining outside, so that's a bit frustrating, but I've decided I want to do a Barnsley chop today one way or the other. So I'm going to get it prepped in here, and then I will head out there and I'll try to get the grill underneath the canopy and see what we can do. Now, the first thing we're going to need to do is break down this Barnsley chop a bit because it's big. So I do have a tool here that I do realize that a lot of you probably will not have at home. That is a bone saw. Now, obviously, if you don't have one of those, the solution is to ask your butcher to cut it before you bring them home. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and do that, so I'll let you see what I'm doing. Okay, so yeah, this chop in one is a bit bigger than I want it to be. So I have my saw. And yes, this is a relatively heavy-duty piece of kitchen equipment. Just make a slight adjustment here. And there we are. Switch over to the knife to get through the meaty part. Now then, these are still some pretty big pieces of meat, but I'm going to leave them that way because, well, Barnsley chop's apparently supposed to be a big piece of meat. So we're going to go ahead and take these outside, get them prepped, and get them on the grill. Okay, so we are outside. It is raining, but other than that, it's a great day. Oh, what we do for barbecue, huh? Especially in the UK, where we get this a lot. Alright, so I've gloved up one side. You might have noticed I put two gloves on. If you're just cooking at home and you're happy to just run over to the sink and rinse your hands, wash them off, it's not really necessary. But I do find whenever I am making videos like this that it just makes things a lot easier to go between steps. Alright, so what am I going to do first? Well, thinking about what I wanted to use as a binder today, I know that fruit goes really well with pork. You know, watermelon, peaches, apricot, anything like that. I've got some strawberry that I want to try. So I'm going to get some of that on there. And yes, I know, before you comment, this is definitely not traditionally how a Barnsley chop is presented. Whenever these things were first mentioned to me, I asked my stepson, and then I went and I asked Google, and I did quite a bit of research on there. So I think what I might actually do is once we get through this part of the video, I'm going to cut over to me a bit earlier and a bit of the research about the history of the Barnsley chop. But before we get to that, I'm going to go ahead and get these coated with that jelly because we are doing kind of a hybrid here. We're doing a Barnsley chop Louisiana style. You saw it here first. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know yet, but you saw it here first. get some of that on the bottom side as well. Alright, and once we've got that all on there, this is what I'm talking about. I can now get rid of one of the gloves and still have another one. Amazing how that works, huh? We're going to throw some mixed herb on there. That should form a nice crust. And I'm going to throw some down on the tray as well, because whenever I roll this over, it'll be easier to pick it up off of there than it will trying to spread it around. And then I'm going to add some of the seasoning, of course. The seasoning that I don't name on YouTube because they don't tend to appreciate it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to throw some of it down on the tray, because then after I rub it in here and get a nice crust ready to form on the top, I can flip these over and roll them around like so, and pick up a bunch of it off the tray, put on the rest of it. There we go, and those are ready to go on the grill. Get rid of this other glove. And once my grill has come up to temperature, what I'm going to do is I'll throw these on there, fat side down. I'm setting this on the high temperature grill setting to begin with. That's going to get my plate, my actual grill, nice and hot. I'm going to throw the fat on there, and then once the fat is on there sizzling away, I'm going to actually change the grill setting over from grill to smoker. That's going to lower the temperature as it goes, and it's going to just give it lots of time with that lovely smoke flavor. I've got some hickory in there at the moment, so that'll be just perfect with this. And then we're going to give this probably a good couple hours, checking it as we go, obviously, and we'll see how things shake out from there. I've never had Barnsley chops before, but as you will have seen at some point, I'm not sure where I've cut it in exactly, but they are basically just giant lamb chops, so sounds great to me. Right, I'll be back with you. So like I said, got the grill under the cover. You can see it's raining out there. Bit of a different spot than we're used to, so I've had to jiggle the camera's positioning, but the grill's just told me we're ready to add food. It is nice and hot there. Like I said, I'm going to flip the fat side down. And before we proceed, I'm going to make sure that I give these a bit of a roll and press each side of that fat to the grill just for a minute before we move on. Give that fat a nice initial sear, start letting it break down. And you'll see that's going to start forming up a nice crust as well. Right, so from there, go ahead and close up. I'm going to go ahead and adjust myself down to the smoker setting, 200 degrees, and we're going to set it for, let's say, 2.5 hours. Obviously we're going to be checking that as we go. We might not need all that time, and we'll get that cooking. We'll check in on it after a while. Alright, so here we are, something a bit new for the channel, but we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into the background of the Barnsley chop. Like I said earlier, I'd never heard of this thing, so I had to look it up. After I talked to my stepson, first thing I did was go to Google. What is a Barnsley chop? And yeah, so okay, it's a cross section taken from the across a lamb's loin, a double-sided chop with a bone in the middle. So I started trying to think through, okay, so what would I know this as? Well, that part that the chops come off of, that when it gets cut in half, that is a lamb saddle. So if we have a look here, this that I'm showing on the screen now, that is a saddle of lamb. And if you take that and you kind of cut it in a couple pieces, that's what a Barnsley chop is. We would call this a saddle chop, or a double chop, possibly. But basically it's a very thick cut double chop off the saddle of a lamb. The saddle being this bit right up here at the top, along with the rack and the center loin. Now then, with that, of course the next question has to be, well, why is it called a Barnsley chop over here then? So that's the next question I asked Google. Why is it called a Barnsley chop? And so yeah, here's what I found. Basically, a story that farmers at the Barnsley market eat, or used to eat, this was 18th, 19th century, at the King's Head Hotel, where these things were served. And yeah, a chop, a big chop, a Barnsley chop. Now, if that is accurate, that's a bit crazy that, just a comment like that, or maybe it did become, local slang and then it's grown into the name. That is kind of backed up by the BBC, Harry Bikers. They do a recipe for Barnsley chop, and I think I've got it up there as well, talking about food facts and the history of the Barnsley chop. I did, however, also find another website here that talks about a different origin for the chop, and that is the Brooklands Hotel in Barnsley. That they claim that they were the first ones to come up with it. Although this one also does then cite the King's Head pub in Barnsley as well, going back into the mid-1800s again. So I think it is fairly straightforward that it came from Barnsley. I would have been very surprised if that part wasn't true. It is a very large chop off a lamb. Having another look here, and we have a Butcher's Hook website, WordPress site, again talking about the Barnsley chop, and some research on that there. And again, you're talking about the King's Head Hotel on Market Hill, and apparently they still do Barnsley chops there to this day, and they are still kind of referred to as the home of the Barnsley chop. Now, I think that's pretty interesting. We've got some history on it there, but the part that was really curious to me was that, for whatever reason, although they're both from Yorkshire, my wife and my stepson, when they talked about a Barnsley chop, they were both referring to a pork chop. And that's interesting because I've talked to a few other people since, and apparently there's a lot of question and a lot of debate over whether the Barnsley chop should be or is lamb or pork. Pardon me there. Now, looking back at the history of it, everything seems to point to lamb. But, I mean, even going to my local butcher, I didn't say I wanted lamb, I didn't say I wanted pork. I said, give me a Barnsley chop, and they gave me lamb. But then apparently there is also such a thing that people do refer to as a Barnsley pork chop, which is basically the same thing, but pork. Might have to try to find one of those sometimes, because this one's pretty good. But let me know if you enjoy going into a little bit more of the kind of background history of the food that we're doing. If you are interested in that, I'll try to do a bit more of it on the channel. If you're not, I won't do it anymore because you won't watch it. So let me know below, comment, say what you think. Tell me if you think Barnsley chops are pork or lamb. I'm curious to see what the breakdown of that is. And if you are commenting on that, please let me know where you're from. Because if someone's from Barnsley and says they're pork chops, then I'm going to end up having to go down to the King's Head Hotel myself and ask a few more questions. Until then, we'll get back to the cooking, and I'll catch you guys later on. Alright, we've given this about 45 minutes. Ooh, and those are already charring quite a bit. I think, yeah, if we look at that, if we give it a bit of a rub, what that is actually that's gone black is not the meat. All that's gone black is the herb crust we had on top. So very much like a blackened catfish or anything of that nature, you're going to get that black color, but it's not burnt. There is a difference there. I do think, though, these are pretty close to done. I'm just going to get a little bit of that herb crust off of there, just to reveal the meat a bit. And I'm going to throw them back in for not much longer, maybe another 10 to 15 minutes, and call it finished. We'll be back. Oh, Munty. Umo. And one for Millie. There we go. Good doggies. Alright, so yeah, I've trimmed this one up a little bit and given a bit of that blackened fat from the top to the doggies. And once we have done that, we can go ahead and have a look, and you will see inside here that other than, yes, we do have a bit of that blackened bark from the herb coating, but inside that meat is lovely and done. Possibly a bigger bite than I should have taken on camera, but oh, that's good. The strawberry jelly that we put on it, or the strawberry conserve, doesn't really come through as a strawberry flavor, but just a little bit of sweetness. I do wonder as well, though, if part of the blackening comes from that strawberry caramelizing more or faster than some of the stuff I'm used to using, more like apricot or peach. So that is possible, but we get a nice smokiness, a little bit of sweetness in the background, and then after that it's just good lamb. It's got more of a texture done this way, almost like a joint of roast beef than a lamb chop. You can see, if I show you there, that it kind of almost strings apart. Have to go for a bit more. Well, there you have it. Barnsley chops done Louisiana style on the smoker in the rain. Hope you've enjoyed today. If you do, please stick around. Please like, please subscribe. I do appreciate it. Sub numbers are going up, and I do appreciate that. But we do still have a lot of people watching that are not subscribed. So, if you have gotten this far, please do me a favor, hit that button. That way you'll get reminded when the next video comes out. And I'll see you next time. Have a good day.